We play and call it work.
Hello, welcome to this week's episode of The Sit and Talk. I'm Steve from MiniWargaming.com, and I'm sure you all know that if you're watching this video. I'm going to sit here for about an hour or so and answer all the questions you left on the last Sit and Talk video. Next week will be Matthew. If you want to ask him any questions, you can address them to... Oh, I hadn't thought of a nickname. Address them to a Mr. Games Master or Master of Games or Monsignor GM. Those are the only things he's going to respond to. Anyway, just get right to it. Also, I want to point out I'm doing this first thing in the morning, so there's a lot of hustle and bustle in the hallway as people are setting up for games. I don't know if you hear it, but if you hear any talking or laughing or rumbling, that's just them in the hallway preparing. Let's get right to it. Don Bellado, hello Steve. I've been out of the hobby for quite some time now and was wondering where the Eldar are right now. I noticed that there are hardly any, in brackets 1, 9th edition bat reps with them in it. Are they good, bad, or did you just get bored with them? How is 9th affecting them? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Man. Wow, what a starting question. Okay, so I could actually talk for a full hour on just this question. There's a lot of backstory here. Yeah, there is currently, no wait, there's two. There's currently two 9th edition Eldar bat reps. One was against Josh and the AdMech, and the other was a 1,000 point incursion game against, excuse me, Luka and the Necrons. There's a lot to unpack with the whole backstory of the Eldar for me. Are they good, bad, or do you just get bored with them? I think they're pretty good. I'm hesitant to say they are the best. I know they can be very powerful. It's one of those armies that isn't the easiest to play down with, but you could. By play down with, I mean make a list that you can play against a very fresh new player and still like let them make a bunch of mistakes while they're learning the game, and probably they're probably still going to win even if you try to lose. But you could play down, but they just play up very well. I'm hesitant to say whether or not they're better or worse than Space Marines. My gut right now says the Space Marine Codex is better. But better is relative. Yeah. I would think they're still quite strong, but they are a little dated now. But look at a new book out soon. And my lock just came on. Okay, so did I just get bored with them? How is 9th affecting them? I'd love to hear your thoughts. I think for 9th edition, and of all the existing, so at the start of 9th edition, of all the existing codices, Eldar benefited the most from the changes in 9th edition rules. For example, a lot of our vehicles and a lot of their vehicles, okay, weirdly enough, I still consider myself an Eldar player, but I'll unpack that in a minute. So a lot of the Eldar vehicles' weapons are heavy, which no longer suffer the penalty for the moving and shooting on the vehicles, and the Wraith Lords, which is fantastic. You know what? The lip on the table I'm leaning on is a little squeaky. I hope you're not hearing that. I'll try not to move around too much. So they benefited from that. The table being smaller just made their movement supremacy even stronger, even better. They're able to move around and get on objectives. They have a couple of tricks that are just really good, like Silver Helms that can just turn one, charge you, and do quite well. They can play many different styles. They can play hiding at a lot of sight and still shooting you. They can play a very aggressive, get in your face. They can play very dodgy and gunliney. They can play very psychic heavy. They can play very melee oriented, or they can do what's probably the best of them is a healthy mix. So yeah, I think they're in a very good place in 9th edition, but also once again, good is relative. When an army is really strong, you can argue that it's in a bad place because it offsets the meta or upsets your local meta or the people you play with. I don't suspect that's where they currently are. I don't think they are an army to complain about, though there's reasons to complain about absolutely everything in every army, one way or another. But yeah, I think they're very strong. benefited a lot from 9th edition. Yeah, that covers that. As to why I don't really play them, that's a long backstory, but in short, sorry, it's early, I found my coffee and I'm dry. Why don't I play them? Okay, so when I first got my job, so I rarely, no, I rephrase that, I never played any Warhammer games before, Warhammer 40,000 games, before I came to work for Mini Wargaming. No, actually that's not true. I played exactly 2 games as a guest on Mini Wargaming before I came here to work for them. That was 6th edition, but that was the tail end of 6th. It quickly jumped over to 7th. And I was a Warhammer fantasy player. I know I had models, and I tried to keep up on the meta, like way back when. Spent a lot of time on Warseer and Portent.net. I used to I was part of the hobby. I loved hobbying. I loved reading about the Space Marines and Eldar and Necron. I loved all that kind of stuff. But I didn't actually play. This is important because when I came to work here, I had purchased a Necron army, like all in sprue and boxes, whatever. Secondhand for a really good price. That's why Necrons was my first 40k army. I painted them up real fast and came to do some games for me Wargaming. And then I was offered the job. I took it, and then one of the first things we discussed, because we just finished Matthew and I, excuse me, just finished the Fate of Fayoum campaign. And then while we're I think it was, excuse me, while we were on I think it was a 12 episode campaign, while we're on episode 10-ish, maybe 9 or 10, Dave started talking about Matt and I were done with Fate of Fayoum. He wanted to do a campaign, which ended up being the Primogenitor's Promise, where he played a Chaos, a pair of twin brothers. They were going after us so long ago. We were trying to find a sword, and I was the antagonist. Maybe I was the protagonist, I don't know, where I played Eldar. So basically what happened was Dave had asked me what armies I owned. I said just Necrons. He's like, okay, what do you think you want to do for the campaign? I'm like, because he didn't want to do Necrons again. You know what? I said at that moment, you know what? I'm actually interested in purchasing a second army and painting it anyway. At the time, I remember talking to him I'm actually kind of interested in Imperial Fist. Eldar sounds kind of cool, and I said a third one that I was actually semi-interested in. I can't remember what it was at the time. I actually don't remember. And then he said, okay, Eldar, let's do Eldar. We have a lot of, the Mini Wargaming Studios had a lot of Eldar models at the time, but nobody played Eldar. So they said, you know what, absolutely Eldar. We were gonna record it in 6 weeks or so. I said, I'll buy a whole Eldar army. I'll have it painted up and done ready in time. And he, of course, didn't believe me that was possible, but yeah, my orange Eldar paint job was super simple, so it was very easy to do. So anyway, I bought that army, Dave kind of chose it for me, but it was in the list that I put together. Here's what I'm interested in. Which one do you think I should play? And then he's like, Eldar. So yes, I played Eldar. And then I started playing Batman for Mini Wargaming. I started playing Guest, and I was winning most of my games after a bit of a hiccup at the beginning as I'm figuring out actually how to play the things, and then I started winning most of my games. And then it got to my head, I actually thought I was a good Warhammer 40,000 player, not realizing that the armies I played at that time, this is late 6th, early 7th at this point, so basically the Eldar was almost exclusively 7th. I played Necrons and Eldar. I had a huge advantage over every other faction, especially Chaos, and I was just winning, obviously, because my rules were just way better at the time, and I thought I was good. I was getting a little arrogant. Hey, I'm really good at Warhammer. Oh no, I'm playing Eldar. But people used to make those jokes. Well, of course you won your Eldar, and I thought they were just jokes, whatever. But once I realized that was true, I'm like, oh, it's true. I did win because I'm Eldar. It is cheesy Eldar. It was janky Eldar. Oh, my list is really, really strong. The better my grasp of the game came, the more experienced I was, I realized that, I had an advantage with these armies. And then it kind of got tainted for me. I didn't want to be the Necron Eldar player. I didn't want to play an army that was really strong. I wanted to work for my win. If people saw me win most of the time, I want it to be because I was good or competent or lucky. I'm gonna be honest, I won a lot of 9th edition games with sheer luck. I wanted to earn my victory, so I kind of moved away from Necrons, but they're in a bad spot now. Well, actually, no, now that the new book is out, they're very interesting again. I want to make a new army, but I don't have time. Yes, I just moved away from Eldar because I never wanted to be the guy who plays that faction, and that's why he wins. And that's why I eventually moved over to Orcs. They were really good for a while, but they kind of got left behind. They're pretty weak again. So I think after that I moved to my Dark Angels. See, I said I spent the whole time on this one question. I moved to the Dark Angels after that, and then the Raven Wing got like a huge buff. They became really powerful, and then I bought, so after that I moved to Dark Eldar because I tried to, so what I did is I scoured the internet and I wanted a general consensus of what this is 7th edition, what the worst armies out there, the ones that are just like, generally don't place in tournaments, people consider kind of a joke, they're not powerful, they're not going to win. And I believe that the absolute worst one on the list was Chaos. Well, I'm not playing Chaos. Dave does that. The second worst was Tyranids. Well, I'm not going to do Tyranids. Matt does that. And then the third worst was Dark Eldar. So easy peasy, got it. Got Dark Eldar, painted them all up, started playing games. I was confident. I won some, I lost some. I was getting better with them. And I was starting to win more often, and I felt like I was earning my wins. And then 8th edition comes out. Now this is still Index. I don't think I played many games with them with their codex, but I did. Actually, I did. But anyways, in Indexed, I'm making lists, and I'm realizing when I'm putting my list in Battlescribe, I'm making like, oh, that's a pretty solid list. How many more points do I have to spend? Ooh, 900 more points I still have. Like, I felt everything for Dark Eldar Index was just so radically cheap. Just too cheap, like in point wise, right? So I was able to have so many things, and I know my style back then wasn't the typical Dark Eldar style. I was just a lot of Cabalites and Raiders and Cabalites and Venoms was my thing, but almost exclusively. So I just wanted to have as many of those as possibly can, and I would jump from, or actually the Tantalus was amazing as well. I would just try to jump around spot to spot and use the terrain so I can get as many guns on a single target as I possibly can, kill it, move on to the next one. So I was always on objectives. I was focusing down things. It worked well for Dark Eldar. Worked very well for my playstyle, but I felt like I just had a points advantage. Like they were just pointed too low. So I completely lost interest in the Dark Eldar because I felt like it was too strong, and that is when I moved to Orcs. And then the book came out, and I said for like well before I had my Orc army that I was going to play Bad Moon Orcs. And the book came out and made Bad Moon Orcs pretty good at shooting. But Orcs were pretty good at shooting, and that's a whole, you know what, I better move on from this topic. I'm actually going down a whole memory lane here. But yeah, Eldar, I didn't want to play the crazy overpowered cheesy army, or one that was considered so. I know there will always be perceptions, and then there are people, what's a bad army? Well, okay, for example, 6 months ago, Necrons they weren't respected. They're considered pretty weak, pretty not great. But there are people out there who would still comment, like, Necrons are crazy overpowered, crazy cheesy, because there's the one Necron player in his group of 6 people, and they only play the same 6 people, and he's just really good. He's gonna throw off the perception for that group. So there's always gonna be that. There's nothing you can do about that. But generally, Eldar were considered quite powerful, so I want to move away from that. That being said, I did say, and I mean this, if and when Eldar gets a new codex, I will likely jump into them. If they get a new codex and a new model line, I guarantee I'm jumping back into them. I think it's 15 minutes on that one question. Random Roy, Steve, super thanks for the Epic Space Marine Codex review. Lots to digest. Thank you. 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 Thank you Roll a d6. I don't have any dice in here. I mean, yeah, sorry. It says roll a d6, answer the corresponding question. You know what? I'll just shotgun all. There's 2 questions, dude. Oh, I see. There's 3. Ooh, you gotta hit spacebar. You gotta hit enter. What is the luckiest event you ever seen in a Warhammer game? Have you played a new Necromunda game? Okay, so yeah, I've had a few lucky moments very recently. I had one where, well, spoilers, but the game's been out for a long time. Early in 9th, I was playing against Dave and the Blood Angels, and I can't remember what I was playing. I might have been playing Dark Angels. I can't remember. He was set up to win the game. Basically, there was an early, I think it was turn 2, when he was going to go ahead and grab a bunch of points by getting Line Breaker and a couple other things, and he ended up killing a Rhino in my deployment, a Rhino or Razorback in my deployment zone. It exploded, killed the character that killed the Rhino. That character was no longer in my deployment zone because he was dead. Didn't get Line Breaker, and didn't get attrition. No, that couldn't have been it. There's something, it affected him another way. He didn't get Line Breaker because he died. He only had 1 unit in there, and he didn't get something else. I can't remember. But then by the end of the game, the points were so close that we realized that, like, if I hadn't rolled a 6 on that explosion, that was his game. Have I played the new Necromunda game? No, I haven't. No, I haven't played Necromunda in a while. What games you play in your spare time? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. 100% of the games I play are recorded. We're in semi-lockdown in the UK. What did you miss the most during your lockdown? Yeah, going out at night. I'll say that. What changes do you think they're going to make to orcs? I want Stack-a-Dacka-Dacka. 6 is the stack. Oh, Stack-a-Dacka. I thought it was a misprint. You want Stack-a-Dacka-Dacka. That would be kind of cool. What I want to see, okay, so Luka and I think you're going to see this before the first, yeah, okay, you're going to see this before the first episode goes out, but Luka and I are currently working on a 2nd edition Warhammer 40,000 mini campaign. Basically, not really much of a campaign, we attained a untouched 2nd edition starter box set with orcs and space marines in it. We did an unboxing. We painted up the miniatures. Luka painted up miniatures. It's so rare for him to do that. He painted the Space Marines. I painted the orcs. So 60 models for orcs in that box. And we played through all the learning to play missions, and then we're doing a couple of actual full 1,500 point bat reps of 2nd edition. So actually, I gotta go, as soon as I'm done here, I gotta go to the next studio over and record the last episode of that. Why am I talking about this actually? Oh, because you actually what changes I want to orcs. Okay, so this is, so we realize, or I think we come to a consensus here that orcs in 2nd edition do significantly better in shooting than they do in close combat so far. It seems like they're not a close combat army. And even in 9th edition, they're not a close combat army. Now, don't get me wrong, there's going to be somebody who comments like, orcs are clearly a close combat army because of this. Well, in general, you're going to do, in my opinion, you're going to do better shooting. Now, you are going to charge for various reasons, but your damage comes from shooting with orcs. They became a weirdly good shooting army. More efficient than in close combat. So what I want to see for it, no joke, I want to see orcs, I want to see a reason to bring boys in close combat. No, I know you can win by spamming a bunch of boys. I know you can. I'm not saying they're completely useless. I'm saying it's just more efficient killing with your guns. Now, 9th edition doesn't care much about killing as much as it is clearing people off objectives and then holding those objectives. That's where boys come in handy. But I just want to see orc close combat be interesting, be desirable, and not just be I do it because this is how I want to play my orcs. The last one is your next game. Your warlord can choose 2 warlord traits. I don't think that's illegal, or sure illegal. That breaks the law. Wilhelm BG. Is there anything in the Warhammer lore you wish was represented or was a mechanic in the game? Also, any rule or mechanics to the game you missed from past editions? Okay, so I can talk about the second half of that very quickly, actually. What do I want from the lore brought into the game? I don't know. How about orcs being crazy? But no, that's not really a thing. Them charging forward and dying en masse is kind of lore appropriate. What do I want from the lore brought to the game? Oh, I don't want to stay here too long and think. I'm sure I have an answer that we used to. I'm sure I have an answer. It's just not coming to me right now. I'm sorry. If it pops in my head throughout the rest of this video, I'll mention it. Any mechanics of previous editions I miss? Absolutely. I miss vehicle facing. That lost immersion is a big deal for me. I very much miss vehicle facing. Now, because I've just been playing second edition, I love the vehicle damage chart far better in second edition and even kind of in 7th and 6th than it is currently. I'm not it works. I would never complain about it, but in response to the question, I'm not a big fan of vehicles having toughness and wounds in an armor save. I know it works mechanically, and that's fine. Yeah, I miss a bit of that immersion of like the chart. Now the damage chart was way more, I want to say sophisticated, but that's not the right word. Way more interesting in second edition than it was in like 6 or 7. It was just like, you explode in a 6+ and you need AP to do it or whatever, right? Or you explode on a 7 on a D6. 6 was immobilized, right? It's been a while. So that was fine. I liked that, but the second edition one was just far more interesting. Steve, what do you think about the Sons of Behemoth? Particularly the fact that Mega Gargants will have 35 wounds. Do you think just adding more wounds to help solve the problem monsters currently face in AOS? And do you want to see some other big models like Arcane given similar wound stats? This is another one I spent forever on. Okay, so he's talking about, for those who are unfamiliar with Age of Sigmar, he's talking about the new army of giants, like big Titan-sized giants in Age of Sigmar. And they have 35 wounds because monsters currently struggle in Sigmar. Like the infantry kind of is better. So like that's not a hard and fast rule, but like it's a general statement that kind of rings true. 35 wounds. I've played with 35 wounds. No, wait, have I played with 35? No, I'm not. I played with 20. 35 wounds is a big deal. I have to play it a bunch of times to see if it matters. The fact that they count as a bunch of models for holding objectives is a big deal. No, the thing is, I actually wanted to play this army. I was going to claim them as my studio army, like my next AOS faction, but so is Josh. So I'm just gonna, I don't want to fight him, so I'm just gonna let him have him. So he's gonna play the Sons of Behemoth. I don't know. I am not going to claim that I know better than the guys writing the rules. I don't think I do. So we'll let the rules writers sort it out over time. I have full confidence that they eventually figure it out. But yeah, you're right. Monsters aren't quite working. It just doesn't quite fit in the game mechanics well enough to represent themselves well enough, but they work fine in the actual. I'm trying to explain. Well, like I'll talk about. I know you're asking me a AOS question, but I'll go to the 40k equivalent. So we're seeing models like Gazgul, Thraka, and the Catan, having these wound charts that they can't take more than 3 or 4 in case of the Thraka turn, so they can survive a few turns. So if you just gave them lookouts, sir, they're going to get to your lines and they're going to, tear you apart, and they're going to be really too strong. If you don't give them lookouts, sir, and you don't have this mechanic where they're going to only take so many wounds a turn, they're going to die in one turn. Like somebody's going to look at them and pull their guns on them, they're dead, they never get used. So the fact that they've added that mechanic to Thraka and now the Catan is a clear sign. They're saying, we don't know how to balance this. We made this game far too killy to make any of these things work. So we have to add this weird mechanic to let these models see you play. Because you just make them like 30 wounds. Yeah, they're not going to get killed in one turn, but they're going to absorb too much. There's Terminator suffered a big problem for a long time. And then Luka, oh man, I'm going off a tangent here. Luka and I used to discuss Terminators forever. And one of the things we said could help fix them is every Terminator got a toughness 5 or extra wounds or whatever. But every time we came up with an idea, it imposed upon something else. So you'd make him toughness 5. Now the aggressors they're just better aggressors. You gave him an extra wound. Well, it just makes Custodians kind of like, well, what makes Custodians better? And then ultimately they decided, okay, we're just gonna give him an extra wound. These are just signs of like the game has, the bloat is, it's 35 years of bloat, right? We have huge bloat and very killy models, very killy armies, and you can't fix these things. And then go back to the Sigmar thing with the Giants, the game, well, this actually applies to both, actually for 40K and for the Giants. Not that this is a negative, but the game is very simplified that they don't, their way of balancing all these giant things appears to be give them a bunch of wounds, because giving it an intricate, more complex game mechanic doesn't fit their style anymore. Like previous editions, like vehicle facing and their vehicle damage charts was just a bunch of things. Look at what we're talking about. There's no way you could possibly remember the vehicle damage chart. You play previous editions of Warhammer 40,000, you need multiple books and you're constantly referencing. I've been playing Warhammer Fantasy for so many years, and to this day, I don't think I've ever gone through an entire game without having to reference the rule book, okay? Whereas now in Age of Sigmar, you can play an entire game and not have to reference the rules, because you got them. They're pretty simple. They're straightforward. They're not ambiguous. There hasn't been one of those situations where like, wait a minute, how does he have to pile in? No, you know it. They're clear. They tell you. You just know it. Now you can play a lot of games where if you remember their stat lines in every special rule, you don't have to reference your rule book, your army book either. But that's a whole separate thing. Whereas 40K, even 7th edition. You still had to reference, not everybody can remember how to do tank shock or barrage or what level the barrage actually hit. There's a bunch of things you have to go back to the rule book and check, which is fine. Like you want a level of complexity, you have to reference the rule book. You want a level of simplicity, so you don't have to reference as much, so the games are streamlined and smoother. That seems to be more popular with the masses, which I think Games Workshop should do, so as long as the masses are buying into it, we also have a game, right? So I think this keep the complexity down is the right call with my very limited knowledge. But that means now you have trouble with these giants where you try to figure out how to make them work in the game without adding a bunch of complexity. I'm absolutely positive they can write some janky rules to make these things work. Same as the Catan and Gospel. You can write some, a couple of paragraphs or a couple of pages of a new type of rule, whatever. You could absolutely do that. But they're looking for simple ways of handling these things. And for the giants, the great gargants, it's just too early to say. But I suspect it's going to be fine. That's a long time to answer. Yeah, I think it's going to be fine. I think I'm just more talkative in the morning. Where do I leave off? Oh, you know, supposed to about Archaon. Archaon suffers the same problem. He's so expensive, but I don't find him ever really worth it. But you have to lower his points, but there's a sweet spot. There's a sweet spot where he lowers points too much, and he was like, auto-include too powerful. There's like, I really do believe it's like, he's not worth it, auto-include too powerful. Not worth it, auto-include too powerful. You gotta find that little hair right here. And that's hard to find. Steve, I find it hard to maintain interest in an army. If there isn't a great deal of lore around them, e.g. novels, how do I maintain interest in my Drukhari and not just go back to Space Marines? I also lost interest in Drukhari. This is something that nobody could ever answer. You could answer it for yourself. I can never answer it for you. Because you likely yourself don't even fully know why you particularly find something interesting. Like, why? I play High Elves in Warhammer Fantasy. I played Eldar in 40K, and I wanted the Rivendell Elves for Lord of the Rings. Why do I love elves? That's weird. And then you can talk about the Age of Sigmar new elves, the light elves, and the fact that they hold hammers and have these weird giant bull helms completely turned me off. I can't fully explain that, but I also understand it. I've had zero interest in orcs my whole life, none whatsoever. Whether it be Warhammer Orcs and Goblins Fantasy or 40k Orcs or Iron Jaws Rage of Sigmar. Then all of a sudden one day I'm like, you know what, Orcs, I'm gonna try them out. And then a massive 40k Orc army, massive fantasy army done and painted that nobody's seen. Oh no, it's been in one background, but people haven't really seen yet. And I very much want Iron Jaws now in Sigmar. Tastes change, and I would maybe keep jumping around until you find the thing that just grabs you. And maybe it's only to grab you for so long until you move on to the next thing. But if you don't, I find if you paint, for me, is you paint up a small army, 500 points or something, by the time you're done that, you are either going to, and I know this can be expensive, you are either going to find your love for that faction, that army, and your models, or you are going to know this one's not for you, move on to the next one. So if you have the time and money to spare, that's my recommendation. Paint up a small force, and then you'll know. I feel like we just know whether or not you want to go on with it. But that's really me giving advice to myself if I were to ask that question. So I don't know how to answer it for you. Sorry. Oh God. Okay, Montrugus, could you guys please make some more Horus Heresy bat reps again? Love to see them. Keep up the good work. So many of you know I sold off my Iron Warriors Horus Heresy army because I sell everything eventually, right? But last week, they haven't been about. So last week I brought in my whole brand new Horus Heresy Iron Warriors army. I sold off my old one and started all over again. I wanted to change the painting scheme. So I have a whole new Horus Heresy army with a lot of Mechanicum in it as well. I too am dying to put that in some Horus Heresy bat reps. However, as it stands right now, because of the 9th edition, and then especially with the new books coming out soon and everything, like our focus has to be here for two reasons. One, everybody's super excited in this building, so that we're going to do that. And two, you guys are also, like, as a whole, the okay, so you have to remember something. Mini wargaming is a business. Every decision has to be made financially, or else we're not here to do this. Like, we all have to get paid. We all have mortgages and stuff, right? Like, decisions have to be made financially. So while I would have more fun tomorrow playing Horus Heresy, I'm going to play another game of 9th edition because that's what's going to pay the bills. So for the here and now, we have to focus on that because that's what keeps the company, turning. And then when we have more time or there's less releases, I promise you, I want it to more Horus Heresy. We'll get into that. But yeah, it's gotta wait. It's been a weird cycle in the last couple of years, which has very much affected mini wargaming and actually every other YouTube channel, I would assume, where Games Workshop's release schedule has been so rapid, so fast that it dictates what we kind of do, which is understandable, I think. But yes, I get it. I have a whole new army. I want to get it in there. Ultimate RUL. Steve, great work on the Marine Codex review. I've had it for days now. Still nothing like figuring it out. So you can only imagine how much that hurt the old gray matter. Oh, the brain. I'm a little slow. Do you think Inceptors are actually good? Yes, I do. I couldn't tell if you're being oh, yeah, that's fair. Okay, I couldn't tell if you were being sarcastic or not when you said they were really good in the review. I have some, but they don't see much action. Wondered if I'm missing a trick. Yeah. So I know the way I talk, especially around my buddies like Luka, whatever. I'm very sarcastic, but also it means that I also like to hyperbole. I like to exaggerate a lot, but it also means that you could definitely think I'm being sarcastic or exaggerating when I'm not intending to. No, so I actually do think Inceptors are fantastic. They are, for me, almost an auto-include. You have toughness 5 and 9 wounds for 100 and, I can't remember, it's 120-ish points. But with the bolt guns, the assault bolters, you're getting 18 strength 5 the turn they come down, most likely AP2, though I think I want to keep them on the table now. That's neither here nor there. I think, for resilient enough, and their firepower is excellent, but most importantly, that 10-inch fly move. No, I think they are auto-includes. Now, I want to quantify that or clarify that. When I say auto-include, You would think, I mean, every time you make a list, you bring them in. What I mean by that is every time I bring a list that I'm thinking wants to be a little competitive, I want to bring them. Now, if I was playing White Scars, I probably wouldn't want or need them, but I can definitely see the value for them as well. Basically, the slower Marine armies want them to jump on objectives and or kill things that are hiding around certain corners. I think White Scars are pretty well fast enough that they're going to get you anyway. But like my Raven Guard, I love them. You know, to be fair, I haven't really considered them with any other army. I would like them with my Dark Angels, even though I think Dark Angels can do very well in melee now. Yeah, I just for me and my playstyle, I really love them. So no sarcasm there. I think they are like an auto include. Like I'm always I have 2 units of 3 in my list, unless I need to take them out because I need the points for something else in my list that's a greater hole than they were filling. But like they would always be in my list first, and then I'll pull them out if necessary. But they rarely get pulled out. Mylan, Steve, now that you're back on site, are we ever going to see another Chug-a-Mug? Okay, so weirdly enough, like a year and a half ago, we filmed another one. It was fine. It was only fine though. I never got edited. We spent the day, Colin and I spent the day filming it. It never got edited. It was missing something. Everybody was just kind of expecting it. Yeah, it was just, even though nobody knew what was happening, I pulled them all in, it was all secret, and they had no idea, like, okay. The reactions weren't there. Yeah. So I don't think it works. It doesn't work on the same, I found it doesn't work on the same crew over and over again. You have to bring different people in every time. And yeah, I don't know, it's not working. It's not working. And again, same with the whole, what time is it? We're getting it. Same with the whole rapid release schedule of Games Workshop. It really dictates how we have to use our time. Because it takes an entire day of, it takes about, I'm going to say about 20 man hours. 20 to 30, I'll say 20 to 30 man hours, sorry, paid hours, not man hours. Paid hours to make one of those videos. And it's, you know, that's almost a week's worth of for somebody here. Well, not quite, but yeah. Zeta78. Sorry, I just read the questions on myself. Hey Steve, great job to both you and Luka on the Codex reviews. Which armies would you like to see get the Necron treatment, meaning major update with lots of reworked rules, versus Space Marine Codex that's mostly the same with many small changes? So let me address, well, I'll read the whole question and I'll go back to that. So you might already be aware of this, but the Infiltrators kit comes with the Start Collecting Vanguard Space Marine box that does include the Helix Gauntlet. Weird. Okay, yeah. I'm pretty sure I said that in the review. So Infiltrators, if you buy the Shadow? What was that? Oh man, the 2-player box set with the Infiltrators and the Chaos stuff. Those Infiltrators come with the Helix Gauntlet, which is the medic thing. But if you also buy the Start Collecting box set of Space Marines, which are those models, you also get the Helix Gauntlet. But if you just buy the Infiltrators in like the $50 box off the shelf, they don't come with the Helix Gauntlet. They come with the comms array, which was weird. I don't know why they would do that. It's very strange. But yeah, I thought I said that in the video, but maybe I forgot to say that. Okay, so first of all, major changes like the Necrons. Okay, but the Space Marines didn't get major changes. Well, I think the Space Marines did get major changes. It's just that they kind of previewed them over the past few months. So, because of COVID, longer than that actually. But like their bolter drill, their doctrines, they got introduced through various things. They kind of felt like we were releasing parts of the Space Marines building up to this book. You gotta remember this book is likely, this Space Marine Codex is likely done a year ago. It's just not printed, right? But yeah, so yeah, I think Space Marines does get major changes. We just got them a year ago. So I think all of the armies will get that. I really do. I really think every army is going to have a major shakeup. like the Necrons, if you want to call that a shakeup. I think every army, every codex coming out, in my opinion, will probably, more likely than not, have drastic changes to their everything, except Chaos Space Marines, because they always get the shaft. Yeah, I don't think Chaos Space Marines will get some boring thing. I don't know why. It just seems my entire existence in this hobby, 6th, 7th, 8th, no 9th. Well, 9th doesn't count yet. They haven't nothing about it yet. They just don't seem to get anything nice. Oh wait, no, that's a lie. End of 7th edition, for a few months, they had Traitor Legion. Is one of the best written things they've ever done. Yeah, but all of them. Yeah, all of them. Hi Steve, how far am I? Ooh, I gotta go faster. Hi Steve, I hope you are well. You might have answered this question before, but I was curious. For 40k in AOS, what is your favorite army rule-wise and lore-wise in either game? 40k, probably Dark Angels. I love their lore, but more importantly, I love the lore of Cypher. I don't want to get into that because I'll talk forever on that one. So Cypher for sure in 40k. AOS, rule-wise, I really like my Beasts of Chaos. Well, not their. I'm gonna keep stats and rules separately. I think their stats are terrible, but their rules are sweet. I love the playstyle, the Beast of Chaos, where everybody's a coward, everybody kind of runs away and trying to go grab objectives, and they're always raiding and pillaging. Now, the lore of them, I haven't really read the AOS lore on them. I assume it's probably the same or similar as it was in fantasy, only probably more cleaned up. Their lore is kind of dark. I'm not. Yeah. Mentality. Steve, do you ever eat gummy candies or stuff like that? Do you know that it comes from horse and cow hooves and other boiled down random bits? Enjoy. Mwahaha. Don't believe me, ask Matt. Happy Halloween. Yes, I understand how things get rendered. Yeah. If you go from culture to culture, like, you can find anything disgusting, but I mean, just because, I don't know. That's okay. That kind of stuff never bothered me. Steve, I love the background with Luka showing off the new Deathwing. Would love to see a video with 2,000 points of Ravenwing with their new changes. Yeah, same here. Did I realize that the Ravenwing bikers, the bikers don't get jank? I really don't like that. To clarify, because the bikers are the Space Marine Codex and they gain the Ravenwing keyword, but they don't gain the Jink keyword, or Jink special rule. Steve, when are we seeing a bunch of grot takes in the Orc army? You know what, honestly, probably never. I dig them, I like them, but the cost, the financial cost of them is too high for the value I'm going to get out of them. I think all the Forge World stuff is just, I feel like, slowly getting phased out of the game by just being a little too expensive or the rules not being quite good enough. I know we had the Leviathan dominating for a while, but everything that seems to do, I just expect, yeah, I think when that, it's a better question to ask me next time around when that the Imperial Armor book comes out. And I'll have a better understanding, but it feels like, remember, like, the Fire Raptor was really good, they just like made the thing so points heavy, it was like, why bring it? I don't know, it feels like Games Workshop doesn't like anything Forge World. Sorry, I'm going to rephrase that because it's the same company. It feels like the 40k Codex writing team, or the writing team in general, doesn't like the, I don't know, I'm not going to go off a weird speculation. It's probably all in my head. I just don't, I feel like the Forge World stuff keeps getting worse and worse, but just slightly worse and worse. Steve, I've come across many older characters in various short stories, novels, and some Baltoms that make the sign of the hammer while praying to Sigmar, warding off evil spirits, or just as a thanks to Sigmar. What do you think the sign of the hammer looks like? How are the goblins coming along? I have no idea. I've never heard about the sign of the hammer. I know Sigmar's symbol was this. So you make your hand into a fist, and you curve your fingers outward, because Sigmar's heralding in, like, the original Warhammer fantasy lore was he crashed down like a comet onto not Earth, onto the old world, into the old world. The comet had two tails, it had two burning tails coming off it, so they make the I can't. If your fist is supposed to be the comet, and here's the two burning tails coming off of it as it like straight down. That was the symbol of Sigmar back in the old world. I don't know. I didn't even know there was a symbol of the hammer. So maybe if the hammer means Sigmar, they're doing that, or is it like the Catholic cross where they're kind of doing like a weird? I've never heard of that. I'm speculating. I have no idea. How are the goblins coming along? What are you talking about? Oh, was I talking that I was painting the goblins last? Oh yeah, they're all done. You're talking about the Warhammer Fantasy Orcs and Goblins. I'm reading to myself again. Lucky Icky, hey Steve, love your content and style. My question is a bit of a two-parter. Would you have any interest in doing a series of more technically heated battles featuring harder lists as sorts of counterbalance to the overall beer and pretzel style of the Vault? Do you think AOS, a multitude of special abilities and hero phase powers, leads to the overall more unique armies and tactical games than 40k? To me, it seems like 40k is mostly just +1, -1 stuff compared to all the unique things your awesome AOS lists. I think any awesome. Okay. Am I interested in doing harder stuff? Absolutely. I'm going to attempt something in the near future, kind of like that, but just more of a competitive, couple of bat reps. But while there are many people who will say they want this, we've learned time and time again, our audience as a whole doesn't. They don't care for the competitive stuff. They just want to see Space Marines and, well, actually, a lot of people don't want to see Space Marines, but they want to see Warhammer. They want to see two guys having fun playing Warhammer. We keep learning that. Now, I also admit it feels like the hobby as a whole has moved more competitive, and Games Workshop appears to be more catering to the competitive community over the more casuals. Now, I think those are fair statements. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. So I think it is a good time to test the waters again with our audience. Do you want to see more competitive? It's simple. I mean, you can ask the comments and you'll get 1,000 people saying yes, but like, are people willing to sign up for the next bat rep? Are people willing to pay for the next bat rep if we do competitive? So yeah, you're right. It's worth testing again. But so every time in the past we've tested the audience system doesn't want that. As a whole, there are always going to be some who do. And as for the no, I don't. I'm hesitant to answer your next question about the competitive nature of AOS versus 40k, because that is one that's hotly debated in this building, actually. To simplify, I don't want to get into a thing, but to simplify, I do believe 40k is a little more competitive than AOS. To simplify, I don't think I can make my arguments without taking a long time to do it. In short, if I'm going to take somebody if I want to take my 12-year-old nephew, no, he's older than that now, whatever, I'm going to take some 12-year-old down to the studio and teach him how to play both games. I'm going to teach somebody how to play AOS to a point where they can play it competently in a couple hours, versus 40Ks and take a lot longer than that. So if somebody very inexperienced to miniatures wargaming, miniatures games can pick up one game system faster than the other, there's going to be more nuance to the harder one. Now, let me that. I don't go off tangent. I just think AOS is easier to learn. And if anything's easier to learn, I'm not claiming that it's easier to master. I think both of them have a nice curve for mastering, and there's tactics in both. But I just feel like the 40k is a little more. Yeah, I don't want to get too long on that one. Ultimate RUL, Steve. Hey man, I watched with interest and enjoyment your Scions battles. Oh God, another one. See, I don't know if this is a joke at this point. I'm Steve. The guy with the long beard, that's Josh. This is a question for Josh. All right, he replied to his own question. I'm going to read his reply. Sorry, Steve. This one's for Josh. I got you sexy SOBs mixed up. Hey, Josh, you out there? All right.
Somebody need a bearded man?
Yeah, come here. There's a question for you.
Oh no.
Let me read the question. Steve, my man, I watched with interest and enjoyment your science battles. Always enjoyed your battles. Thanks. Anyways, question is regarding one of your armies with whatever, guard stuff. I'm like, okay, I have to explain we're not the same person. And then, but he actually replied to his own thing. Sorry, Steve, this one's for Josh. I got you sexy SOBs mixed up.
What was his actual?
I don't know. Ask it when Josh's turn. I'm going to read it. This is Steve time.
Wow. Okay. You know what? If that is your birthday wish.
Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough win from Big Mikey. Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Okay. So, nobody from here is going to watch this. The current dilemma is, my understanding is it's going to be a 4-player game. And too many people want in. I don't know what to do. I might have to do 2 groups from just this building. Actually, some of them don't want to be online, so that might be easier. It'll happen. But the more I think about it, I just want to play for myself, by myself. Would you watch if I just streamed and didn't talk to you guys? No, that'd be boring. Something for Luka. The Modern Night 1. Hey, Mr. Mountain, what sort of list are you looking forward to playing for Lumineth? And are you going to do a rules review? Oh, I hadn't even considered that. Ooh. I think it's too late now. Wait, when did the book come out? Maybe it's not too late. You know what? I'll look into that. I'm enjoying working on a focused Venari force with lots of Dawn Riders rather than running techless. Oh, I love the techless model. I know a lot of people don't. I don't know why. I love that model. I dig that model. We just got some more models in a couple days ago. So there's somebody else painting them. I'm unfortunately not painting them myself. I'm working on other projects, but I will be covering them. I have one squad of the stupid hammer guys, which I will bring at least once, but after that I'll never again because I hate the models. I hate the models. But I don't have, I have a couple thousand, I have like 2,500 points in building ready to play. The problem is I can only make a legal 1,500 point list if I only bring 2 battle line. They have a weird, what counts as the battle line is the wardens, the spear guys, and then for every spear unit you bring, you can bring one of the Dawn Riders or one of the archers as battle line as well. So I don't have enough. I only have 1 unit of spears, which is a problem. So we got to get more. But I actually just ordered them yesterday. So when they come in, they'll go out to the same painting studio, which these guys are real fast, so it wouldn't be too long, and then I'll play bigger games. But yeah, I have a lot of Dawn Riders. I have 1 unit of spearmen. I have one of all the characters except for Tech List, but I just ordered that. You'll definitely see coverage. I definitely love the Wardens, though I'm afraid their spears are going to break, or their pikes. I love the Wardens, and I love the Dawn Riders. I think the Archers are one of the stupidest sculpts I've ever seen. That bow doesn't make any sense to me. That bow could not in any way actually fire an arrow. It couldn't do it. It wouldn't work. And then I hate the hammer guys. Other than that, the rest of the line I really like. I like the cow monsters, but I don't think they fit in an elf. They don't feel elven to me, but they're good models. I'm not gonna lie, I like those models. And Techless I love. And I kind of like the rules. I'm not gonna lie, I really think, it was an army I was gonna purchase for myself. I just said I'm working on something else and try to coordinate where. I've explained this many times over the years, or maybe the other guys have talked about it as well, but we try not to overlap army coverages between studio armies, something Matt does, Dave does, what Josh buys, what I buy, what Luka buys. Not because there's a rule, it's just that we try to do as many different things as possible. Clark, hey Steve, do you guys ever want to, do you guys ever play non-games workshop games? The reason I asked, I would like to know if there ever been heard of or played a game called Bolt Action. Yeah, Josh loves Bolt Action. It's a very good game. I wondered if you could play any the mountain game. So on my YouTube channel. No, I won't play it. So my buddy Ben really digs it. He's on my channel Plots. Josh really likes it. I watched one game of them two playing. I'm like, I'm never, because they're trying to get me to buy it. Because Conflict 47 is the same game. It was something that I was thinking about. But I watched them play the game, like, it was terrible. Now, they have a nice action system where you pull a bead out of a bag or whatever, or die out of a bag, and that person goes. But getting into good detail, that part I liked, but it was a race to roll sixes. The game I watched, now they claimed it was because they both brought nothing but veterans in buildings. It was just like, okay, I roll a bunch of dice, I got no sixes. Okay, you go, you roll a bunch of dice, you got no sixes. I got a six, one of your guys dies. I roll some sixes. Like, there was no movement. It was just, no, it's not for me. Like, the movement phase of any game is my favorite part. Miso, Steve, how are you and how has the lockdown treated you? Not bad. There was a time there where I was starting to lose it. Like, I felt it. Like, being, like, locked in and like, not seeing anybody. Yeah, I live alone, right? So not seeing anybody, like, people for after a couple months was, like, weird. But then we started recording bat reps. Like, we did weekly meetings, and other people I would hang out with and play games with online or whatever. It was just getting weird, just not seeing people. But I think many people went through that, right? Because I like to go out at night. But what really helped when we started doing remote bat reps, everything was fine again. Like, I was playing 40K or AOS every day in my dining room table, and everything kind of felt normal again for some whatever reason. Just playing the games again just kind of really helped me. So that was. My job was a big help. So all those who are unable to work from home and who only live with a small amount of people or by themselves, I really feel for those guys or those people. It's not the easiest thing. How is Mountain Minter's game at the moment? Will you be doing more vids? Yeah. I put on a live video a couple of days ago explaining why we can't do the Kickstarter. We can't finish Kickstarter. I'll get a little more detail right now. So there's a cleaning crew that comes in because there's like the room upstairs, the hotel, and there's the gaming hall and the store and the studios. In their 8-hour shift, they come and like they do like the rooms upstairs in the afternoon, and then after 5 they close off the studio floor and they have to like spray all this stuff on the handles. It has to sit for a while, and then when that's done, they do the tournament hall because that closes later in the evening. And so that's their shift. So when they're doing the whole spray down everything and cleaning everything in the studios, one, it's too loud to record, and two, we don't have to be on the same floor when they're doing that, the chemical, whatever, right? They have to wear masks and stuff. So we're unable to film currently after 5 p.m. because that's when they're doing this. When that goes away, hopefully eventually we'll be able to record again. And we can't record on the weekends because if we do, then the cleaning crew has to come in after us. But we can, it's complicated, we can record on the weekends in the studios upstairs because they have to clean them anyway, but we can't record up there if there's any people up there. So we'll figure it out. It's been frustrating, but like Matt and Dave have been awesome trying to help us figure it out. But like it is what it is. Like, well, nobody expected this weird pandemic, and then when it's over, or actually we'll probably figure out a solution before then. We actually thought about just recording from my house. But we thought the quality would be the lighting is not going to be great. The room will be too echoey. The audio and the visual won't be as great if we record from my house. If we absolutely have to do that, we will. Another thing we thought about doing is there's a brief window at the end of the day from like 5 to about 6:30 where we can go right down to the studios and record for my channel. But then we'd have to leave because that's when they come in, and then we come back the next day and finish that game. We thought about that too. It'd be disjointed, but we can get away with it. But the way things are currently working at Mini Wargaming to keep on the schedule, because I don't know if this is well known yet. Because we're trying to ramp up the campaigns. Matt and Dave work on those almost exclusively. Actually, Luka and I are kind of doing one right now, but they work on them almost exclusively. But the way they're able to maintain schedules, we have 6 studios. They actually set up 2 beforehand, and then they use those 2 over the next day. So if even one of them does that, we can't take one of the studios from my channel overnight. So, they've been very trying to work with that. Like, okay, we'll set up early, you guys can use it. Like, yeah, they've been, but yeah, COVID stuff, when the regulations go away here in Ontario, or when we have we'll get back to normal eventually, and I will finish that stuff. I am itching to play fantasy right now. Steve, what 3 armies are your least favorite and why? Knights, Admech, and Custodes. Yeah. Knights and Custodes for the exact same reason. They're perfectly fine. You win or you lose, it doesn't really matter. They don't have enough. When I play Warhammer, I'm okay to lose as long as I take some of my opponent's models off the table. I think you can beat both those armies and never kill a single model. I want to be able to kill my opponent's models. I know 9th edition doesn't reward you as much as previous editions, but those armies are very resilient. But so Knights, you can kill them or you don't. Custodes, I think it's more of a jealousy thing with the Custodes, because Custodes are everything I want my Deathwing to be, but now my Deathwing kind of, I'm not going to lie. So, the Custodes thing is more jealousy than, because they die, they're resilient, but I'm not saying they're too resilient, they need to be resilient. I'm not saying they're overpowered, because they're not. I'm just saying, when I play, I want to kill more of my opponent's stuff. If I love playing against Tyranids, I'm going to kill a bunch of stuff. I might win or lose, who cares? I'm going to kill a bunch of stuff. And then Admech for one reason. I absolutely detest Castellan robots. Everything else in that book, kind of weak. Not the greatest. Oh, that's not true. No, that's not true. That book can be played very well, actually. I have new respect for the book. There's another YouTube channel I've been watching. Just kind of I see the power. They're pretty good. I just dislike Castellan robots. Mostly because of PTSD from 7th edition when I played Dark Eldar. And they just, killed everything in my army without any kind of save. Even my vehicles. Donnie777, hey, oh, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna shotgun these. I just realized we're out of time. Okay, hey Steve, no, wait. Okay, hey Steve, looking at the Space Marine con to keep up the good work, how do you typically build your list? Do you find a creative centerpiece model or just online search for the best list or playtest your own creations? I'm very much against net listing or online searching. It works for some people, it doesn't work for me. I like to make a list and then refine it over time because I want to know what works for me. The person online, there's 2 things I've learned with many years of experience. There's 2 kinds of things you can find online. Things that work for them, and if you learn how to use it, it'll work for you. Oh no, sorry, 3. The other one is things that got refined by a community to be a really strong list. It gets refined as a community group. Those are usually really strong. And the third one is, which I find very common, or actually it used to be more common, but people out there just saying, hey, this is good, with oh, but you've never actually played a game. Don't give advice to somebody who's never actually played the game. I find that's common. No. I rephrase that because that can be harsh. I found that common when I was researching Horus Heresy. I was reading articles about how to play certain things, and as I'm reading the articles, for example, I don't want to give any, I don't want to out anybody, but I'm reading articles that the rules don't even work that way. You don't even know what you're talking about. Just because you're able to write an article on a site doesn't mean you know how to play, or just because you bought a geosite, whatever. For example, a Raven, because I have Raven Guard Army for Horses. I remember there was one channel, it was he kept talking about, using your crack grenades with Furious Charge. I'm like, you don't get Furious Charge with crack grenades. Just stuff like that. It's peripheral knowledge you can create, you can just do this, but actual gaming experience, you would realize that you would eventually catch that you couldn't do that. So there's just sort of lack of experience. That was I found that common in Horus Heresy for some reason back at that time when Horus Heresy was just this weird group of, not weird, but this small group of die-hard fans, and then for a bit it blew up to this a bunch of people who got involved. Now it kind of went back to this. But when here, I just found a bunch of articles popping up. Well, that's not even the rules, but that's neither here nor there. I don't know why I'm even thinking about that. I was just thinking about that recently. But how I build my list, I just build, and weirdly enough, if you bring something on the table that performs too well too many times, I put it, all my models are in shelves out there. I put them in a certain, for example, in my orc bat reps, you don't see Ludas, you don't see Daka jets, you don't see mech guns, you don't see a handful of things because they did too well too many times. So I shelved them because I don't want people to be like, oh, that's too good, stop bringing it. Then because you do bat reps every day, you want to try to vary it up. So I try to do different things, or try to take people's, like, send me a list, like, okay, I'll try that for you, but there's some of the things in here that I really don't want to do. So I'll pull all these bikers and I'll throw in, like, this is one more thing over here. But yeah, I just kind of like do it whatever. Now, if I'm going to make a competitive list, I don't even know. I actually think about the scenarios, and then I think about the secondaries, and I think about how to prevent people from getting the scenarios and the secondaries. And that's it. So I want things to be able to clear objectives, hold objectives, get to objectives, prevent my opponent from getting to objectives. And that's the thought process. I can't read your next comment. It's inappropriate. Hey Steve, how are you? I've started a third fantasy army. Orcs and Goblins, nice. In your opinion, should I go for regular boar boys or savage orc boar boys? Should I use Big Wall or Little? Should I use Big Wall or Little Wall? And finally, from Forge World New Fantasy, if you could have a choice, what faction army would you love to see released? I don't know. I don't think Forge will ever touch fantasy. Okay, so I have regular boar boys. I didn't buy any savage ones. Now, if you really master the movement phase, you can make the savage ones. The savage ones are stronger. If your opponent is very good at the movement phase, the savage ones are weaker. I'm choosing the regular boar boys because the people I play against are pretty competent. Like, we play a lot of games, right? So they're gonna know how to bait them or redirect them. That's the only reason why I like the savage boar. They're both good models. I think whichever one works for you and your group. Secondly, as for the Big Wah, Little Wah, the Little Wah as a whole is better, in my opinion. I prefer the Little Wah, but the Foot of Gork is, well, there's two spells. Foot of Gork, potentially crazy OP, and the teleporter one, I forget what it's called, where you move a whole unit, crazy OP. So there's two really good spells in the Big Wah, but I still prefer the Little Wah overall. It's more useful overall, I think. Maiden 23. Oh, Ben, go faster. Okay, so Maiden's asking me about, he's starting a fantasy army, and he's asking about doing vampire counts. So at this point, I have to say, hey, Maiden, I'm going to go ahead and assume that you've never watched my bat reps, because I'm terrible with my vampire. I have a vampire counts army. I am terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Terrible. I can't seem to get a win. At best, I think I got ties. That's a better question for Luka. However, now this is important, is your gaming group going to be competitive, and how competent is everybody? How often is going to play? How experienced is everybody? That's a big deal. Because I know vampire counts can do very well by taking a Blender Lord. Google that and you'll find it no problem. A Blender Lord in a horde of Graveguard with great weapons, and then as many spirit hosts as you can legally fit, which I think is 3. So 3 spirit hosts for redirecting, and then the rest of your points you have to put core. You get some dire wolves, unit of zombies for your wizard to sit in, and that's it. And that's a really powerful army. Also other things, obviously, but that's a really powerful core. But if your opponents are playing stuff like Tomb Kings or Bretonians that aren't that great, or can't really play too high up, they can play up a little bit, but can't play too high up, don't buy that. So it's a very subjective question. Gatsby's asking about orc clans, kind of like Space Marines, how you can create your own. I would basically sum up how I'm going to answer your question is, I would love to see every codex have a form of the Space Marine thing where here are the clans, here are the craft worlds, here are the whatever, and you're trying to make custom ones. Elder has that actually already. But yeah, I want to see custom clans. Steve, what's an army that you don't have a ton of experience with and you like to pick up an incursion force to play with? I kind of want to do an Eldar, not an Ari, and in like Wraith army. I'm not that experienced with it, but like honestly, I would do any faction. Gene Stealers. Oh, Tyranids even. Tyranids would be pretty good. Tyranids maybe. I don't know. All of them. Big Mikey. Steve, how does it feel to be that guy with the super OP army for the next 2 weeks? All kidding aside, has your general stance in the inner circle being good, not great, game breaking, changed? Yes. Yes. Okay. Without getting too far into it because I'm out of time, when I first read the inner circle rule, I'm like, wow, crazy OP. I played one game where that rule was going to be even better for me. My opponent, it was this really bad rule for my opponent, and it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad at all. So I'm going to say it might not be as bad. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. It might not be that bad at all. It's good. I'm not saying it's good. It's not. I don't know if you're. I don't know. I must say, I don't think you're going to see a Deathwing Terminator armies dominating the tournament meta. But it is good. Okay, the next question is about Cypher. Man, I've answered this question so many times. I cannot answer this question in a few seconds. I think it's to answer your question directly, just for you, I think it's the Lion Sword. But it could be either one. The Cypher lore is some of my favorite lore in all of 40K. Steve DeMel, when will we see the Lumineth? I'm recording a Lumineth game this coming Wednesday, so you'll probably see a Lumineth game either at the end of this coming week or the week after. Talking about Dark Angels from the Green Wing being basically pointless. Yeah, I agree. If you play Dark Angels, you ever played the Ravenwing or Deathwing anyway? Yeah, he's just basically talking about Green Wing being not interesting anymore. I can understand that completely. Guy talking about wolves and yeah, the whole dreadnought thing where you bring a bunch of tech priests and dreadnoughts. Yeah, it could be very viable. Hi Steve, love your work, mate. As long time fist player. What are your thoughts on them in 9th edition? I'm toying with a shiny new Gravis only. Nice. Gravis only army led by Torgard and can expect to see bring out the exploding six explosives anytime soon. Yeah, so actually that is high on my list of armies I'm likely to paint next. I'm actually currently painting something. A pure Imperial Fist Gravis army. No, I think Salamanders will do it better. But either way, I want to do a yellow army. Yellow Marines. I think if you were to rank all the Space Marine chapters, they're the worst one. They're not bad. They're the worst of the best. Like, they're still very good. I dig them. I really dig them. So yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, Imperial Fists are not the best of the Space Marines, but they're still really good. They're better than most other factions. It is other Space Marine chapters can be a little bit better, but who cares? Who cares? If your style is bolters, Fists are now the best. And you get the best color scheme. Okay, that's it for this week's Sit and Talk. Remember, next week is going to be Matthew. Leave a comment on this video, and Matthew will answer that. If you leave your questions addressed to him by Mr. the DM, Games Master Matthew, GM Sir, or anything like that, he'll answer your question. Other than that, thank you for watching. Happy wargaming.